Okay, folks, welcome back to a Tuesday edition here. Live Harmonic Pattern Podcast 341. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the story stock of the day, Nvidia. Just been a little busy morning, but finally kind of engaging with the markets midday. How's everyone doing today? Great to see everybody. What's up, Vegas? What's going on? Yeah, I wasn't here this morning for that dot, but we'll be back in the Discord after the show. David, Drip Dry Tie-Dye, Genghis Khan, yo, what's up? Edward, everyone else, Cactus Leo, what's going on, guys? Let's talk about Nvidia a little bit. We'll get into Bitcoin, waiting on that, just waiting, still waiting. But I think Nvidia is absolutely the stock to be considering, much like Apple was last decade. You go way back to the 2000s, Amazon. Nvidia is definitely going to be the leader for the next few years. So where's it going? What do we do on earnings? Probably nothing, quite frankly. Ever since last month, 4-hour chart, you had this bat down here. Now you have this other bat in the 4-hour. Where'd my other bat go? Oh, it was on the Nvidia long instrument. And we're right at the 886 with a few interesting things to consider. Here's the daily, and even with HSI, little arrow here, we're since the low at 90, we kissed to 130, hitting a little static resistance here. Not a lot, and hey, they could blow this thing out and gap up. We're at the 786, sorry, not the 886 at the moment, but more a wait and see than anything else. The weekly is super strong, and this is the thing with a lot of these stocks that are just on a continued kind of long-term train track to not only yearly highs, but again, I've been saying this for a while that whatever happens during this retracement correction, I'm not really concerned. If anything, a bigger retracement would be a gift, because it's truly about next year and going into the next few years where stocks will do amazing things. And so obviously I'm bullish longer term, always at the right price, but a couple of things we can take away from what Nvidia has done along the way, and I guess last year was really the sweetest opportunity to capture a few things, namely this bat pattern, that high level continuation bat that came right in. That was it's at 40 split adjusted. It was 400, and it never looked back. And this is the path that it will maintain. You're talking a 3 trillion market cap. There is no reason why that can't go to 5 trillion, 6 trillion in the years to come. Yeah, that sounds crazy, but that's where we are. These chips that they produce, they're going to take jobs, and those jobs are going to cut costs where it's a replacement play, where the AI and the chips, as they have for the last 20 years, frankly, or even more, will continue to kind of supplant old economy jobs. So that trend will continue, and then where do we jump on? I think the best thing for Nvidia is just to monitor the 4-hour chart. And every time we get a yellow dot, we're flashing a bat right now, but these dots, the yellow dots, harmonic strength index dots, we talked about that last Tuesday, are your friend, because they're not only do they mark the indicator development where you get oversold readings, but it also has some price action into it. So this signal for HSI relates to that dot, and with that, at least you have a little green momentum after the signal is generated. So just keep that in mind, okay, that monitoring even a high-flying asset like Nvidia is key to being able to pick the sweet spots to jump on. And then the other kind of ancillary instrument that I've been citing for a little while is the Nvidia Granite shares, those 2x. Here's the Granite share 2x long. This one had really nice patterns going back to the August capitulation. Type 1 bat pattern, beautiful at 35, almost a perfect double. I would say that was a double off the low, 735 to 70, and that first reaction went straight through target 1, obviously. Where's the first overbought HSI signal, dot, what have you? You're still on that kind of vertical 60, 70 degree uptrend, quite frankly, hitting some static right at the 69.75 level. That's for the Granite share 2x, but that's a great indication for momentum. And I would love. I don't think it's going to happen, but the ideal type 2, I'm not saying Nvidia is going down just yet, but the type 2 would be where structurally I would think, okay, you come back, you retest that. That's a no-brainer. And you go all the way back here. Okay, we've had it before. The only thing that we'd be looking for is, hey, what if it doesn't get all the way back down there? Probably whatever the next oversold signal would be. And you go back to this last bat pattern, which, again, monster opportunity. Another bat, high-level bat. I mean, look at this thing came out incredible at the end of 22. It was $2. That's, a multiple of the returns on Nvidia, more than 2x. But here you have the bat and went to target 1. And I would say, just comparatively, you're at this point. Okay, you have a dot. There's an HSI arrow pointing down. All that means is that your reaction has got overextended. So can you roll over and then at least give us some kind of the next dot down? You got close, but never got fully to retest the second leg here, the type 2. But if you're here, which I would say the comparative position right now, Nvidia is like there. You've formed the overbought signal. You're stalling a little bit at or above T2. I would let it come in. I just think it's gonna, that reaction, if that reaction was really gonna blast off, maybe it would continue. It's really no position to strategize longs at that current level. I'm not gonna buy blindly at a T2 in the face of a bearish HSI. They're pretty simple. I mean, it could gap up and go to 90. Who knows? That's not how I play it. I'll look for this thing to come in. The other thing to note, we're down here at the 50 level. Okay, that's really a first start and adds to the argument that maybe we need a little bit to come in at the moment. So that's the NVDA Granite shares. Back to the main chart. Go to the 4 hour here. This is a couple other reasons why. I mean, yes, structurally you have a pattern on the stock. 130 easy. 130.97 is XA level, and I would think, could you come back to 115 on a type 1 reaction? All of the signs are there, and that would be my play on it. I don't have a position on preceding earnings to short or to get out cover. I'm only interested in adding to long-term positions on the pullbacks. So let's get to it. What's going on? A few more folks jumping in. I do need to bring everyone's attention to a couple of things. One, get over to harmonictrader.com, guys. It all starts there. You get your come on, what's going on there? Hold on, something's wrong. 2-week trial. And if I can get the page going, oh, I got to look at this. Something's going on. Something's up with the website. All right, I can't do that, but do me a favor. Just send me an email to harmonictrader@gmail. I don't know what's going on, why that's not coming up. Let me try one more thing. Something's up. Okay, I'll have to come back to this. So no business today. But let's get over to one other thing I want to look at on the monthly for Nvidia. Sorry about that. We are up against a dot. The dot thing, we talked about HSI last week, why that's critical. And we formed a dot, really only the second red month we've seen in a year. So I'm watching the retest of literally that bar, that area. That open trigger level is like 123, 123.47. So we're going to check out how this thing responds. Again, my interest is, even if it pops tomorrow or tonight, come on, keep getting it back on the low end. And I think the low end kind of progressive support is 110. We talked about 115 on the 4-hour chart. So if you're looking to get long, let's wait till after the fact. And I think, again, like the rest of the market, whatever this consolidation zone ends up being, what it results in, we're going, this long-term trend doesn't stop. I could see this coming down over the next month or two, and then you just get continuation, massive continuation. A $4 trillion market cap puts you, pretty much 150, 160. But after we do that, after that little pullback, I just think it's been an incredible run, and a lot of the things that are going on here in the chart just suggest that this thing, any pullback that it does, will only be that. But at this point, after last month, it's going to need more time. Yep. What's going on? Hey, Greg, what's up? Kate, Tails, Lawrence, Jeremy. More people coming in. If you haven't been here before, welcome. Please get over to, at least on YouTube. The website's, I'm going to have to see what's going on with the website, but just get over to here. Harmonic Patterns Official. And you guys know where that is. Hit subscribe and like if you're enjoying what we're doing here. And the other thing I wanted to point your attention to is I did upload the T-Coin webinar right there last week. That was, I had an issue with it, and I'm going to share this in the link so everyone can save that. But check that out. So I laid out a bunch of prices and ideal targets based on patterns, based on assuming we're going to get this massive continuation when Bitcoin's ready to start. But check that out. That's really for your more speculative issues. Before we jump over to Bitcoin, let's take a quick look at stuff like the Qs and SPY. What are we doing up here? There's our monthly. Remarkable, right? The 1618 has capped it so far. Not to mention we have a dot here. A lot of things that suggest we're brushing up against resistance currently. For the Qs, off of last month's open, that makes 480 a critical number. The high this month, 485.54. So it's not over. What happened in the beginning of the month was remarkable, but it's kind of another first step. And here's your up again, that 1618. Okay, the interesting thing that happened with that move, which is not a surprise, is the reaction was oversold enough to trigger HSI. But let me point out one or two things that I find interesting, where It's not, sometimes HSI just rockets and goes depending on the situation, but typically we look for a retest. That retest is back at 448. And let's see what happens this week, next week. Are we rolling over much like we did? And there's a lot of parallels to last summer's 886. Perfect dot, at the 886. You go back to our streams from last summer, and we were absolutely looking for this retracement. We were hoping it would get a T1, but we ran into an oversold trigger. And as soon as that came in last October, it was pretty much go time. So that was not a surprise. And I would think we're going to do a similar deal. Come in, can we retest over the next, 4-6 weeks? Can we come back to 448, retest it, stabilize like we did here, and then go? That would be the ideal weekly continuation for what started all the way back in 2022. And, thankfully we were doing shows back then, October 22, early 23, where we had all of those monster patterns, the big ones in Apple and Amazon and Tesla and Google, and Meta. And we just, I was banging the table on all of those. There's Amazon, and, go back, beautiful type 1 on the weekly and even monthly. Remarkable. Okay, that was Amazon. Double dot resistance at the moment, but still, this is going to end up being, all of these will be major signals as we get further towards the end of the year and how we're going to frame out next year. It's, again, go to Amazon like that. Okay, mid-level of the channel, but this channel that started a decade ago, it just, you're not going to stop it. The meta chart of all of those candidates by far has outperformed them all. I mean, Microsoft had it, Meta has it, had it. There you go. Go back here, 116. I can't even believe that was like 90. That was 90 less than 2 years ago. Now 520. At the moment, like the rest of them, Meta still has a 1618, a little bit higher, 575. I think that's a little too high. I think it's pretty much where it is now, though. You're brushing up against major levels. The 1618 is 565, 560. And that's been something we've talked for a long time. The thing that, like the NASDAQ, the Qs, so this most recent pullback, you go back in August, formed a high-level consolidation zone that even Meta with the dot down here at 460 puts a floor, longer-term floor going forward. So you're absolutely squeezed between these two levels. Probably brushing up against the side here. It is August, so I really think not until earnings coming up later in the fall you're going to see major momentum. But this is definitely the start of trying to resolve this whole zone. There's a 100-point zone. It's really not a big deal for that to continue, and then longer term, we'll just wait and see. I think the longer term possibilities are after we get through this consolidation period. That's it. And when I start talking about these kind of situations, how we should be framing out 2025, it will be in reference to more about the next 3 years than the next year. The next, maybe not 5 years, but it's going to be more than 2025. So looking at that setup, looking at where we are relative, we are resolving the big 1618, and that is straight out of the book. the book, my book, where once we get to these 1618s and go through that consolidation phase, here's the SPY. Okay, can just resolve that inflection. 561.48, that's been the big number we talked about in July, had a massive flush, 10% correction, enough to get oversold even. Probably needs a little bit more time before we get a resolution, but I think you've got the possibility here. Retesting HSI, the initial test, we need check back. So, and that's at 565.16. We haven't even retested that signal. And the way this has been designed, the way that it's to be thought of, is that a pattern is a pattern, only the level. What makes it a really a precision entry opportunity is give me the dot. Give me some kind of confirmation that will pinpoint where the inflection is going to happen. And I think that's going to be higher. I think no matter what, we're probably going to run up into this zone and maybe even challenge the hop before we see any strong move lower. It's just the way that the last 8 weeks have unfolded. You get that reaction again, a lot like last summer for SPY, and it's important to understand that this 886. I mean, that one reaction, we talked all about it, but then once we got the counter HSI, it started to move. We knew that it was destined to take out the 886, take out the prior high with the 1618 as the next stop, especially with the W framework. A lot going on there. It is absolutely beautifully textbook harmonic. And this counter HSI probably ends up being a lot like that HSI. It's been a stellar year. I think what S&P's up 18-19% year to date. Why not go 22, 23, and then have a little pullback? Remarkable. SOX. So SOX is another one on the weekly that actually put in a dot last week. HSI, and then we had and I have to clarify this again. This yellow dot is not related to that signal. It's related to this signal. Doesn't matter. It's still, this dot includes 2 green weeks. And that's something I've been saying with Bitcoin, where I needed to see at least 2 green weeks. This has it. So we're in the ballpark area, even though that's a high level consolidation and it looks like it's just, absolutely soared. It is at a point where just finish the consolidation and then just get ready for the next leg higher. SOX is it's a personal favorite of mine. I started out long ago on the floor of the Philadelphia Exchange for a summer as an intern, and for me that was it. The market bug bit me on that floor, and they were trading a lot of SOX options. Philadelphia Semiconductor Index when I was there was at like 300, so I remember that distinctly. Doesn't matter that it's at 5,000 now. Where are we going in the next 3 to 5 years? And I say that we just continue to maintain these channels and look for retracement opportunities, dot continuation opportunities. One of my favorites right now, sizing up, is Qualcomm. There's a shark at the moment, but there's our daily pattern, and then weekly oversold. And that's going to be the recipe for stocks, at least for the next 3 to 5 years. Daily patterns within weekly uptrends that have pulled back, and then hit them, and just continue to add to your long-term positions, and just buy and hold these stocks. A lot of development. Even stuff like, some of these like SMCI, Super Micro, that thing did an insane move this year. At one point, that was up 400%. But look at what's shaping up. That's a weekly chart. Are we oversold? Not yet. Real close. Amplified's oversold on the weekly. The daily's like this. Where's my crab? There's my crab. Deep crab. Little counter HSI. I'd be looking at low as 478. Come back, retest the hop. Because, look, you have a counter HSI right there. But that's another one where this long-term trend continues. And you just, hit it on the return. Look for these kind of opportunities. We've seen them time and time again. Yep. Absolutely. Another one in the semi space, I think it was Rambus. No, not Rambus. Hold on, let me bring it up. Here's my stocks list. Broadcom, AVGO, massive. I mean, that's just since the 2022 low, killer performer. And this is another, it's kind of a sympathy Nvidia play. Here we go. Another bat, but this one hit T2. But I would think that, come on back down. You're done with the reaction. So whatever the next oversold trigger is, or a full return. But once we hit that type 2, just like we saw with Nvidia, a couple other ones, it's going to be almost a last retest, I would think, before 2025. And another ASML. ASML had some patterns. There you go. Deep crab at 828. There's a dot currently rolling back over, but I think it is more about the weekly. Check out the weekly. Beautiful butterfly. Type 1 reactions over. Can we get some kind of weekly oversold trigger after this reaction? A lot of really nice patterns. Just because it's bearish doesn't mean we throw in the towel on it. In fact, we expect weekly reaction. That's it, which it did in a strong way. And then get me some kind of signal here that this is done. And the longer term move is for the retest back to the zone. So keep an eye on that. There's several others that I could pop up here. Probably the biggest disappointment, and I'm still long, is Intel. And I longed in a bunch more at 30, only for that to go to the hop level. And it was probably more about the weekly down here at the hop at 2083. And I'm just staying long that. It was a real crusher. It was probably the most disappointing position I have of the year. I got slaughtered, but I still like the pattern. I still like the fact that we're retesting long-term support, and just waiting on that. Again, all these, I'm collecting them. I'm going to hold them like Bitcoin. The semis are going to run. There's several others I could go through. I'll save them for another time. Maybe even spend a whole session on that. So why not? Let's jump to Bitcoin quickly. So here's the only consideration for crypto. We get into Bitcoin. Everyone's waiting for it, looking for anywhere from, people are calling anywhere from a full retest back to 25K. Other people are talking maybe we go to 55K. And I think it's still not clear that the end ultimate resolution, but we're getting closer to figuring out when moon. And for me, when moon will begin only when Bitcoin weekly HSI can pierce the 50 and get a breakout above the 3-week range. For now, that's 65,105. You need a bullish close above 65,105 or better to trigger that back up, and even amplified RSI here. That needs to turn back up. So I'm watching that closely. We talked about this in the T-Coin webinar, and I really think that patience has just got to be maintained. We'll get it, and just like last time, you go back to last fall, is same kind of mentality, attitude, long consolidation, people not really confident on what Bitcoin was going to do, except for the hodlers. But once we got that weekly 50 level to get back up with an oversold trigger, that should be the other point in this argument. Okay, you could have said, well, what about there? Well, there was no prior bullish signal. Here we had a bullish signal, got the dot, and we continued, and even this kind of a thing on amplified. I posted something on X today about that. Bitcoin's down 1,200. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because it's just going to be all about this consolidation zone. Structurally, we do have a pattern here. Let me bring up the weekly. Hold on. We do have the shark pattern on the weekly. We're getting to a point where the shark to 5-0 argument is going to wear thin in a few weeks. BNB, Binance Coin, did it, kissed the 5-0, and then went right back up. This is a situation where, yes, clear pattern at 70, gets thrown down, and here's the first dot that we've seen. And I would also say that we're going to get another dot where that's the check back. So if this is a green candle, the next weekly green candle will give you another dot. And that, on any time frame, I would look at that and say, okay, pattern's losing its mojo. We would look for that return, retest move, if not the possibility to run to the hop level at 76. And I've been really clear that Bitcoin is still a 1025 objective to hit its 1618. In fact, that 1618 has been the theme for the year. NASDAQ, SPY, and Bitcoin to go to there. 102, yeah. Oh, let me get this. Pretty much like there. And I won't, other possibilities are just mere speculations. The 1618 is just, by definition, that's the minimum natural growth cycle target. The natural harmonic, the primary number, 1618 and then 618. Those are two of the primary numbers that all the other ratios are derived directly or indirectly from. But within this zone, yeah, we could start to say that this is becoming a muted reaction. Did we know that here or even 2 months ago? No, not really. Not until we had some clear price action development. Yes, it would have been perfect had we hit T1. Can we still wait and see if that happens? Of course. But the further we go in this zone, and I'll define it as the old 30 bar, like that, our 30 bar limit, and I'll explain that in a second. That puts you into the end of September. So now the window's closing. And even if you were to hang in here like a curveball, another 3-4 weeks, and you don't come down, or let's say we get another dot this week, next week, I would say that the chances of this pattern not giving you the full type 1 and then going back into the zone are very good. That's what I'm waiting for. It's not an easy read. You're not going to be aware of that if you're just looking at patterns for the first time. But that's what's going on. Couple others that I think the one that really sticks out that has already done the shark to 5-0 is the Binance Coin chart. Okay, this was You're here with a beautiful shark, similar to Bitcoin. Okay, and there's the shark, and this one went to the 5.0 level. Hold on, sorry about that. And in the flash crash, I guess you can call that, it kissed 414. What was the low? 403 before 414, and then immediately back. This is probably more important though. Yellow dot. The following week, the fact that you were able to print a green candle is a great first sign where we would look for that to go back into the zone. I mean, 613 is the official area and level where the type 2 comes in. So Binance coin, despite the shark reacting, whatever, it's already in the return phase. And if Bitcoin could flash down to T1 and then go, that would be ideal. But I'm more looking at the development, and much like Bitcoin, you've got a time window. This time window is almost up, more so on Binance coin than Bitcoin. There you go. You're 24, 25, and yeah, 30 bars get you early October. It doesn't have to do anything. That's probably the most important consideration. This doesn't have to go up or down. If you just hold this area, that's going to be a sign of strength. And the window's closing. I mean, it's amazing. We're end of August. Where we're going to be here. August 27th, we'll have a show the 29th. And then next Tuesday will be September. So be aware of that. Now, I want to show one or two that are not as good or as not as ideal. And that's, I think, namely Ethereum. Looking at Ethereum here on a weekly chart. Ethereum broke the structure at, in my opinion, it was 2650 was the bottom end. We had a couple of things there, but no confirmation. And it went right on through. We have this bat pattern. It's basically going back a year. And I'm still, it's not really the ideal pattern. I think this is exhibiting a lot of the other signals, at least on the bearish side, where your reaction is over. You can't get through T1 on Ethereum at 2779. Yesterday, we got a down arrow for Harmonic Strength Index. So that suggests we could come back into the zone, or at least down until we see another oversold trigger. And check out what HSI is doing. At the 50 now, amplified cross back down. I would take Solana over Ethereum all day long based on the chart. That's it. Excuse me. 1 second here. Where's Solana? Solana, it still has the recipe of type 2 pattern. The XA level, depending on the feed, 130, 120. One moment. And this is like Bitcoin, but probably even more constructive. Longer, high level continuation. It is a T2 on the pattern. Let's Binance US. Where's Coinbase or Binance? There's Binance. Remove all these lines. And then the weekly is what we're waiting on. The resolution of this oversold trigger. There you go. And Binance coin did retest that a couple weeks ago in that flash move down, but it's 130. And I would say that Solana has to hold these levels, especially that low. I mean, not to see Solana under 110 before new highs. And that's the argument. Solana holds it up here, especially off of that dot. And then you continue this, where that's the launch pad for Solana. What's the target? Is if we're connecting dots, and remember that amazing pattern from a year ago, but look, connect dots here. There's a B point at a perfect 786. I mean, that's one of the primary indicators and levels you want to look at. If you can draw 4 of the 5 points, which we can, C point at a 45, that's a butterfly structure. And I'm projecting off of all of the patterns that have made progress pre-halving. We'll go through a couple of those before we get any further, but would look at that as saying, all right, minimum target 127 is like 330 for this weekly scenario to be realized. If not, this big A to B, C to D. Minimum projected structures. And really, the C point is confirmed once we get above these highs. Like you see Solana back at 200, it's probably a full go. What's up, Greg? Says he's got a few issues with Ethereum and Vitalik and centralized unlimited supply, point of sale versus proof of work, or proof of, what is POS? Staking, sorry, since 2022, and they can't roll back the ledger. Yeah, the chart is really how I'm looking at all crypto. Do we have trending crypto? That was a big argument from the webinar I talked about. Can we verifiably say that it's the whatever crypto you're looking at has made progress? And the big one that I think has popped for everybody recently, been on a lot of people's radar, is Tron, TRX. There you go. Not saying to chase it at this point, but it's an example of something, a coin that made great progress pre-halving, has held that progress, and then look, we had just back in June, we had a high level dot at like $11 and took it right to the 886. If we could come back like this, where'd it go? It's here. Just put the regression channel up, because this is how crypto should be acting if it's going to have a strong post-halving move between essentially the time that Bitcoin flips its switch into Q1, maybe Q2 next year. That's also the other kind of note. A lot of the things I've been saying I all year, even when we had our first session last December, I said this is a time horizon that will go at least till the end of January, but maybe into April or a little bit beyond. And for Tron, you can say all those things. Made progress, on the verge of a breakout, preceded with patterns looking left. What was the daily here? But I had some. No, that was something else. But if we're going to project that up, what pattern structure is it? Is it 886? There's no bat here, but we can maybe project kind of a connect the dots shark. This shark here was right there. A little bit of a dip down there. There it is. And then up to minimum 886 is there, which it just hit at 16. But the problem is your B to C component on Tron needs to be a 1618. So that's more like the 113 version. I expect this to eventually get to 20 cents or higher, especially with the 1618. There's one or two others. Of course, where's Caspa? Another one, just like remarkable, hanging there at 16. Now, my hope is that we come back and retest the bat, maybe some kind of return or a repeat of what happened at the beginning of the month. But technically, that would be the type 2. That's at 11 cents. You're at 16. I'm not doing anything with it yet. But you go to the weekly, if you really wanted to have hopes for crypto to do bigger moves, the price action should be like this. And just one additional note on dead crypto, and I will bring up Cardano, even though that's not even as bad, but that shows you what, let's say, reduced expectations, where reduced expectations can be gleaned. Cardano, huge move last cycle, has no relevance on this cycle because it has made no progress. Okay, and even if you were to come back, we had a crab on the weekly, let's say 39 or 35, let's say that ends up being big support. I just don't even think you would just be guessing to say, oh, this is going to do a huge move. It'll go back to $3. No. No doubt we had a lot of patterns that actually got a response last week. Cardano with this bat pattern sitting in that zone. Yeah, I mean, it responded. I still think we could come all the way back to 25 cents. We had some things there a year ago, and I was looking at Cardano. I actually had longed a bunch of Cardano at the end of last year and then got out. I think it was our second webinar where I said, all right, we need to make some adjustments. And a similar one that was one that I was long a bunch and then pulled out in, again, I think it was like March, was Avalanche, AVX. And had a great move off of, where's the pattern? Avalanche had a big pattern at 22. I don't know where'd it go. I'll have to come back to this. I had a pattern. It was like an extended pattern. Regardless, it doesn't have the same properties. It did not. It made some progress, but did not sustain that progress. I would rather look for things more like Render, which is one that it might be getting away from us. I think it's, where'd you go? But I still like it. I'm still sizing it up. Big Gartley ended up developing on the weekly. That's a daily. Weekly's like this for that Gartley. But I'm still looking for a possibility to come back to 390. Like 390 and come and get above the 50 level here. Get another dot. I mean, we did have an HSI on Render. It threw itself down to finish the Gartley. But just not ready yet. Either is amplified. But these will be big signals. All right? Big signals. Hey, I wanted to say, get your, I don't know what's going on the website. I have to check that out. But send your TradingView username, and I'm going to give you the email right now to get the 2-week trial to hpc@sr-analyst.com. Okay, that's, I'm going to have to figure out why that's doing that. Anyway, nice response off the Gartley. And we were, when we had our session, it was before the pop, but I'm still waiting on that. This is, the daily is, we just ran into this counter HSI. The daily had the pattern, similar pattern at 440. But now we're counter HSI. I just think that was a kind of a one thrust. And now let's see it come back down. One other one that I'm looking at. I mean, again, haven't really pulled the trigger on these T coins, but Akash Network. And at first we were looking somewhere around 309 was a minimum. The weekly had a couple of dot signals, but that has made progress. I mean, let me get a better feed. Okay, there you go. Crypto.com, that's fine. Generally, we were looking in this area, like 270. 309 was a minimum, as low as 2, but made great progress. Okay, you've got some oversold triggers here. I would even say, can we come back, retest that next week? That would be around 250, and then start larger development expectations after. Yeah, there you go. So we're still stuck in this zone. But as soon as Bitcoin does its move, the rest of it will likely follow through. What's up, Tails? Wants to look at ton USD. Didn't that have? Wasn't there something there? I thought that was either hack or rug pull, but okay. Ton on the daily is a perfect type 2 shark. So you have me interested. Any confirmation there? Almost. You're 539, maybe you get under 470 kind of a thing. Software has generated the T2. What was that yesterday at the 886? So today's maybe day 1 to start looking. And remember, type 2 daily patterns, weekly oversold, especially with the dot. So that is oversold. Last week we checked back, red candle this week. You need 2 green weeks. Seeing that a lot, where I know we're early. You're going to get development before larger moves begin. And for something like this, and can be the same strategy can be applied to all of them. Ton early 2023, great run. Retracement into the summer, and that's a weekly chart. So 1 and 2, but if you're there, you're about 8 weeks early before the turn. And I think the same thing can be said here. The dot comes in after the retest, and 1 and 2. Let me blow that up so everyone who's squinting can see this. And this is the problem currently. We don't have enough green preceding candles to really get it going. I mean, any price action, whatever the market is, never going to turn right on a dime. You're going to usually stabilize, get a couple of green candles, a 3-bar breakout to set it off. And that here, I would say you're like here. You're there, and then you're what, 4, 6, 7, 8 weeks before you start any kind of larger move, and that's a heck of a move. 1 to 7 back down, but that is good development. That is the kind of a trend where you could say, yeah, possibility for this thing to do more going forward has already proven itself. And I want to avoid those versus stuff like algo. I mean, it's a clear difference. And I don't use case or whatever. If your crypto is back at 2023 lows or below it, please, just send it flowers to the cemetery, because you're going to be in there a long time before that thing can do any kind of development. And I just feel like that's 90% of all crypto, unsustainable. Even if you were to get a thrust up into the next cycle on algo, where's it going to go? 25 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents maybe if you're lucky, and then right back down. It is it's the quicksand of crypto, where you get sucked in and then you never get back out. That's an issue. A lot of people are saying that. Now, what about things like Ethereum Classic, where I like it. I like the chart on this. Maybe not the same way trending, but we have back-to-back weekly patterns on this, and even a daily pattern. Those are all interesting signs to me. Ethereum Classic, probably going to take more time than a ton or a Tron. You might get a move back to 24 and then back to 27. So haven't done anything on that either, but I do like back-to-back pattern dynamics there. The other one, kind of related, Ethereum name server, ENS. That's actually a better chart, slightly higher maintained trend. And then the weekly did get oversold. But all of those triggers are more like 15. You're currently 19 right now. So nothing yet. Nothing yet. I agree, Victoria. The rug pull thing is, eventually they're going to come around and get those people. And there's been a lot of rug pulls that are doing exactly the kind of thing I'm suggesting. And even the ones that are, I come back to HBAR, where they had an announcement. I forget, there was an equity firm that said, hey, we're going to do big things with this. But HBAR, and a lot of people talk positively about this crypto. You were back at 4.5 cents, which is, where you were a year ago. So this whole thing is over. And then give me a big data feed here. I guess MEXC is okay. But look, the weekly. The weekly has very little progress relative to last cycle. And, the prior all-time low is 4 cents. Chances of that going back to 4 cents are quite good. It's not what I want, but that's what's going on. So please watch the video. Watch the video because I go into detail about that. I even speculate on how Bitcoin can get into the hundreds of thousands eventually in a few years. But that's all speculation. I mean, just pure speculation. But it certainly is different. Bitcoin's sustainability, at least in its trend, is a lot clearer. No matter what happens here, the fact that the thing that was the beginning of the month was Bitcoin hit the 382 reaction right there. And that was 49 and change. 382 exactly is like 51.5. And then right back up. I think it'll come right back up. We just need one bullish green weekly candle. And that should set it up. As the rest, for these others, something like, I don't know, I'm just clicking like Brett. I know that had these meme coins. I would seriously be cautious on those. That one, and then what was the other one? Myro. I posted those when it was pretty hot in the beginning of the year, back in the spring, I guess. Where'd you go? But now right back down. And that's my problem with most of the crypto. They look like this, and you're right back, full reset, 886. And this has patterns here, but they're zero reaction. I mean, why not go to the hop at 2.1 cents? Wouldn't be a thing. One or two more. I do want to pop up MicroStrategy because that's down like 5% today. It's an interesting creature because it did the T2 shark, and you're trying to do the return move. Where's the weekly on this? Yeah, the weekly never got oversold on that last dip down. It's like here. So I'm watching that one, and I'm watching Coinbase as well, because Coinbase is just vacillating at this. It's an ugly bat pattern, but we never triggered and oversold, especially last week. Final note about Coinbase, just like the rest of them, until HSI turns back up, there's not a heck of a lot there. I would say, keep grinding. Would that be a type 1 to 131? Possibly. It's either you register the oversold or hit the level and do the same. Not the best position. Had last week or 2 weeks ago been enough to trigger the oversold signal, I would say great. reaction done. Let's get going. But that's not what it's saying. Not yet. I think you just have to be aware of that. Don't be surprised to see this grind continue for another few more weeks, which is along the lines of what we've been saying really since June. What do you guys have? Tau? What's up, William? Tau, bit and sore. Yeah, I'm only going to do one or two of these. And I know that's a big one, but look. Tau, up and down. Not ready. I mean, look, counter HSI, check back today on Tau. That's like 355. Where's the next retest point? 225. Either that or another oversold signal. Until that happens, what's the better feed on that one? MEXC. Yeah, there you go. I thought there was a pattern here. There's MEXC. This one did make a lot of progress. This is, I guess, a prime AI candidate, and we should probably talk about Fetch too. But it's just a reaction. That's why I'm looking at these, but not ready yet, because we continue to see a lagging corrective mode since the spring, and then every pop has hit kind of a short-term HSI overbought. So you come back to 243 or generally there. Yeah, I mean, it's not a long position. Not really at all. Let me show you this Fetch AI. So Fetch was one that I said, and I'm still am. I'm not really ready to jump on that. We did our session, and we were staring this big Gartley right in the face, but we go back and get overbought again pretty quickly, just like that last pop. So don't be jumping on these. They're not ready yet. Maybe that's a first pop, but FET's 128 come back to $1 would really not be much to consider. And it's not even a type 2. The weekly is oversold. Okay, with that pop, you generated a dot, but if we came back to 80 cents to retest that signal, that's likely what you need to do before it can go. So these are all in a relative position that need more time, and give me a better data feed. Where's the longer term? Coinbase, I guess. Yeah, and Fetch was a great one for us last year. And I was probably happier to announce that at two and change, I was ready to bail on this, thinking that we would have possibly that full reset, and it feels a lot better than having just to hold the whole thing and ride it all the way back down. Yeah, the others. Here's one of these meme coins that just I'm not crazy about. It's a Floki. Whatever that is, there's nothing there that would say, yeah, that's an opportunity. If anything, it's like this. Until you break out of that type of trend, and you can do it on all of them, you're just going to have to sit on your hands. There's a lot. Yeah, there are a lot of these T coins. I think with all the ones that were printed, especially the Solana coins, they very well could end up being pump dump candidates, and unless it's got buying strength or trending, and I've showed you guys a bunch of these that are clearly trending, that have opportunities on a pullback, but the rest of them, you'd be in there forever waiting for this thing. My last one is this Ordi. Okay, another beautiful pattern, made a lot of progress since the prior cycle. What was that? Geez, that was 2. Went to 90, but all the way back down. This was as low as 23 bucks. But even this one, and I do like this because you got an oversold dot. It is oversold. You are trying to stabilize in this 29 area, 25, 29. But even that is not ready, because look, you never pierced the 50. There's the dot. You haven't yet pierced HSI above 50. And then even this simple stuff, it's a sign of strength where You get the signal and then go. And that's really what you want to see. It's not there yet. So you're going to have to kind of wait this out. I don't think it's till next month. And that is, let me really quick. So this is a big chart. This total crypto chart is insanely important for the monthly. And I'm watching what this is going to be. Is that going to be a bullish or bearish candle? Obviously bearish. Got like 4 or 5 more days. Has to get above 2.28 trillion to generate a bullish candle. And that, or even you go to the weekly, we have a couple of high level dots here, but this too. I mean, obviously has Ethereum and Bitcoin, but technically we need to see that 50 get pierced. There's your oversold triggers. And I like them. They're right around 2.2 trillion. Now, after stabilizing, and that's stabilization, give me something that will suggest there's a move behind this. There's a force behind this where finally we can get this to set free above the 50 and then make the run back to the other level. That's how we read it. Okay, guys, get your TradingView trial. On Thursday, I'll give away a couple of 60-day trials, but get that. There's the webinar and then of our last session, and you can get it by subscribing to this channel. And now I'm going to go figure out what's going on with Harmonic Trader. We should get that back up online probably later today. You got any questions? Email me at harmonictrader@gmail.com and come on back on Thursday. 12:30-ish is how it's working out these days. Thanks again. Have a great one, folks. See you next time.